1, 2, 1, 2. One, two. Testing, testing, 1, 2. Testing, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 1, 2. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. So good afternoon, dear guests, speakers, ECIU partners. Europe is at a moment where skills, research and innovation can no longer be treated as separate agendas. Today, here in the heart of Brussels, we're not just talking about cooperation. We're finding out if European university alliances can be engines of innovation and competitiveness for Europe's regions, for Europe's citizens, for Europe's businesses. My name is Niall Power. I'm the director of ECIU, executive director of ECIU University, and it's my pleasure to be the moderator for this afternoon's session. A very special welcome to our online participants. We have dozens of participants online, if I'm not mistaken, over 150, correct? And there's a Q&A button there in your Zoom link, which please use to send your comments, your questions. We'll do our best to get to them. It also helps that we have a Mentimeter going, survey going this afternoon, so you can see the QR code and the codes to join the Mentimeter, so I would encourage everybody to also join in the Mentimeter, and we'll have a look during the afternoon. I'll say more about that later. We'll have a look in the afternoon about how people feel about the issues that we're discussing. But first, I'd like you to join me in welcoming a leader who has positioned Lidköping University in Sweden at the forefront of research and innovation through advanced research environments, through an AI competence for Sweden at Lidköping University. But he has also brought Lidköping University and ECIU closer to Europe through the European Universities Initiative. That is our ECIU president, Professor Jan-Ingvar Jonsson. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Niall, for those kind words. I'm sure you're exaggerating a lot. So there have been many co-workers at Lidköping University that has positioned us at the forefront where we are now in AI. I would say that we are the national leading AI university in Sweden. But that's not why I'm here to talk. So I'm going to welcome you all to this event. I'm overwhelmed by the number of participants, and there are actually 150 more online. That's very nice. You're also much welcome. And a special welcome to the European Commission, who is visiting us. It's Magda De Carli and Stefan Sotti. You are much welcome. I also welcome you all, whether you now are policymakers or regional representatives, partners, or just fellow, but not just, European University Alliances. So this conference comes at a very decisive moment for Europe. We are here to discuss a very simple but critical question. How can European University Alliances strengthen Europe's competitiveness? Today is no longer about markets or technologies. It's really about our ability to collaborate across borders, sectors, and disciplines at scale. I mean, we have really collaborated a long time in Europe, but now it's time to level up. So in this concept note that you have been given, you can find it on your share, it's really about the ability to collaborate and highlight that Europe now has both a strategic direction through the competitive compass and the union of skills and a growing set of instruments. But what matters now is really, as all academic institutions and ministries and so on has been struggling for many years, how do we turn a strategy into praxis and into scale? This is where all the European University Alliances come in. Alliances like our own, ECIU University, are not projects. They are long-term systemic partnerships that integrate education, research, innovation, and societal engagement into one European ecosystem. So in ECIU, we have already worked with over 200 societal partners and addressed more than 300 real-life challenges together. And this is not just a collaboration, it's kind of a new operating model for Europe. So we have invited people here on stage. For this particular, today we have decided not to have any academics. I will step down soon, and we will have other type of representatives up here, representing the societal actors, business, cities, regions, and civil society. And the key question that I hope that we could discuss today is not what universities think they should do or deliver, it's what does society need from us? And how should Europe enable that collaboration? And ECIU University was built precisely around that idea, to bring together students, researchers, and societal actors to work on real challenges. And this model does three things simultaneously. It equips learners with future-ready skills. It accelerates innovation and knowledge valorization, and it strengthens trust between science and society. In other words, it connects skills, research, and impact. And European University Alliances are one of the very few instruments that already deliver this in practice. So as this concept paper or concept note highlights, alliances are still underutilized and not integrated into European policy and funding frameworks enough. And if we are serious about competitiveness, we need to support the full mission, not just education, but also research, innovation, and service to society. We need to break down the silos, align education and research and innovation agendas, and simplify, grow. Alliances are ready to act as European skills and innovation backbone, but we need the right conditions. We are meeting at a time when the global landscape is becoming more uncertain. Europe's strength is its ability to cooperate across diversity. European University Alliances are a concrete expression of that strength. They should show that Europe can work not just as a union of countries, but as a union of knowledge, talent, and purpose. So with that said, I would like to thank you all for being here, and I hope you look forward to the discussions today. Thank you.
Thank you for participating in our Mentimeter survey. You can see the cloud here giving answer to the question, what is the most important contributions universities make to society in the coming decade? It's moving a lot, but I see a creative generation. And when I was speaking with the students today at our workshop that we had just before, for societal partners and for students as well, the creativity is clear and unbounding, and there's so much to work from there. Knowledge, critical thinking, developing human capital, so many important values and so many important concepts that we need to think about one by one carefully. It's a big challenge. So I want to move on now to welcome our keynote speaker. We have Magda De Carli from the European Commission. Magda De Carli is the Deputy Head for ERA and Innovation at the European Commission. She's had a very important role in ensuring the R&I dimensions in important instruments at European level, like the European semester, the cohesion fund, and the recovery and resilience plan. Magda has also been involved in the design and launch of Choose Europe, if that's correct, initiative, and in the preparation of the ERA Act, which is a landmark legislative process in Europe. So, Magda, please, would you like to come to the, and I'll give you a microphone. Can you hold the microphone?
Yes.
Sorry.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Organize myself.
Yeah.
So, first of all, good afternoon to everyone, and many thanks for the invitation to this very interesting and timely conference, indeed, with such a nice spectrum of different actors that are key in the research and innovation ecosystem. So thanks a lot for your words. Thanks a lot for the very good introduction, indeed. And I'm very pleased to be here today. Well, first of all, I have to apologize because I'm replacing a bit last minute my director that unfortunately is not feeling well, but gives me a possibility as well to interact directly with you. So in that sense, I'm very, very pleased to be here. And I'm pleased actually for two main reasons. First of all, because ECIU is a key partner for all our activities and policies developments. So you are a member of the ERA Forum and an active member of the ERA Forum indeed. So I think you really play a very good role and a key role that needs to be played in this period. And in fact, you are active in the sense of participating as well to a number of ERA policy actions, the structural actions that, and also ERA actions that are developed in co-creation with the Commission, member states, and stakeholders through the ERA Forum. And this is something as well that resonates very much on the type of audience that we have today, where everybody is, all the different actors are represented. So first of all, thanks to ECIU, not only for the invitation, but also for your active involvement until now in developing the agenda of the European research area. Secondly, I'm very happy to be here today because this is indeed a very good moment to be discussing with you. So not to talk to you, but to talk with you, to speak with you, and to have this interaction, which is at the basis of this collaboration that you also were mentioning at the beginning, which is key if we want to move forward. So having said that, why this is a key moment? It is a key moment indeed because, as you know, for research and innovation, and I'm representing DG Research and Innovation for us is key. It has been never so high on the agenda, and the recognition of research and innovation being strategic as well for the economy. I don't have to remind you, Letta and Draghi report how much they are mentioning competitiveness as a key, as a #1 priority for Europe. But today we are talking about competitiveness and university, so how this all links. And of course that when we are talking about competitiveness, we are talking, and as I say, Letta report is mentioning the functioning fifth freedom for research, innovation, and technology, which is key. And the universities, as I mentioned, are key to the fifth freedom that is also represented through the European research area, mobility and the careers of researchers as well. So universities can contribute to build the fifth freedom and of the EU single market. We know they attract, they move, and they support talents, ideas and innovation across borders. So we can refer to them as accelerators of Europe's innovation and competitiveness potential. So that's why it's very important to discuss with universities, because you are at the heart of all this process. And it is not only universities alone, of course it is a collective effort that brings in the Commission, as I said, but also universities, a collective effort between you. So networks of universities and the European University Alliances are in fact one element and one example of these collective efforts. And again, as it has been clearly recognized, mentioned today, but recognized, it's true that universities, this network of university alliances are important instruments to drive institutional transformation and setting up better framework conditions for research and innovation in the higher education sector, supporting the creation of both the European education area and the European research area. And we are working a lot with on this interaction with our colleagues in the GIEC. So I'm very happy that Stefan is here, in fact, and we will discuss together. So, of course, we have seen, we heard your introduction, and of course, we have been looking at the paper that you have prepared, and it's true clearly that university and university alliances are these bridges between education, research, and society. And this is, you highlighted how important is the dialogue with society, and today we are also in a listening mode because we want to know what a society thinks about that. And this is why it's important as well to be here. So having said that, if this is a key role that universities and university alliances can play, what we can do to leverage this role. And I see different possibilities. And the first one is when we look, for instance, at the policy role that you can play. So what is important, what we can do and what we are doing is engaging in a constant dialogue with universities and alliances to ensure that the design and implementation of EU R&I policies consider scientific and societal needs. So, and this is what we are doing, as I mentioned, the ERA Forum. The ERA Forum is a way in which there is this dialogue and this openness to discuss the priorities and what are the best measures in order to improve these framework conditions, and also how we can, universities themselves can bring their priorities to the attention of the policymakers. So it's very important through the ERA policy agenda. And for instance, when we are talking about this articulation between research and innovation and higher education, we have a specific structural policy on that is ongoing, where we want to align research and innovation and higher education policies, funding, programs, and governance across all levels, being these European, national, and regional, and also strengthen the regional R&I capacities to reduce fragmentation and the innovation divide. So this is not just talking, it's really acting. And for instance, in this group, this policy action has a number of member states and actors and stakeholders, and ECIU part of it, that are working together to define these deliverables and this progress in the interaction. And there has been already a meeting in December trying exactly to have some discussion also, for instance, on joint doctoral degrees. And on the 2nd of June, there will be another meeting. So it is something concrete. We are not just talking. It's something that has meetings and discussions to how to proceed. And we will be looking at also at the local and regional ecosystem. So once again, citizens and different actors as well at regional level. So all these actions that we have in the ERA, in the European research areas, for instance, until now are voluntary. So nobody is obliged from the member states as well to participate. But we are now looking at the next level, which is the legislation. You mentioned ERA Act when you talked about what I'm busy with. And it's true. We have an ambition, and the ambition is really to try to move one step further and try to set up something that is at a legislative level so that the European research area can move forward. And with that as well, the links with the European education area. So for the first time, in fact, we are using this possibility, and we are working on this legislative action. And it was important because we had listened as well to what the universities thinks is important to be included in the ERA Act. We had a stakeholders consultation, a call for evidence with around 780 answers with position papers. And it was interesting, for instance, to see universities, networks of universities, and alliances as well to contribute to this exercise. And what is important is that, for instance, it was highlighted how important it is to call for more attractive research careers. There was issues raised on less less precarious contract for early career researchers, continuous mobility between sectors, and more balanced geographical mobility at the regional and national level. So, of course, all these things are what we want to start exploring, to be included in the ERA Act. So these are all very good information that we receive from the stakeholders. And this is a way in which we get the information, but for you is a way you influence the policy agenda. And I think this is an extremely powerful tool. We have not stopped only to the ERA Act. We have the Innovation Act as well that we are working on and will be soon adopted. And there again, we are looking at removing key barriers for innovators, supporting startups, scale-ups, and universities. And this by allowing innovators to test their innovation in real market conditions and improving their access to European research and technology infrastructure. And you know very well the 28th regime as well, regulation has been adopted recently through a single rulebook of digital first processes, boosting investment access and strengthening talent attraction with harmonized rules for employee ownership schemes. So this is about policy and the legislation. Something that is also important, you mentioned at a certain point, is also the technology development and how to leverage the excellence research conducted in Europe in this sense. So once again, European Innovation Council is one tool through which we help also researchers in universities and outside to bring their groundbreaking ideas from the laboratory to the commercialization. So EIC as well, beyond funding, is really a way to foster innovative ecosystems that support researchers, companies, projects with tailor-made business acceleration services. And this is the second part, but there is the third part, and this is also what I think you are also interested, because besides the legislative proposal and extended support to the EIC, of course, there is also the funding element. It's important that there is also support. So we need a strong European framework program for R&I that would offer universities the opportunities to continue to empower learners and academics, deliver on their objectives, and develop policy prototypes and valorization pathways. So at the moment, of course, Horizon Europe, without looking only at the future, but already now, Horizon Europe offers a lot of opportunities to alliances, from calls on talent ecosystem for research careers, experimentation for knowledge valorization, or the new flagship event, Science Comes to Town. So there is a lot already ongoing and a lot of opportunities there. In addition, the European Innovation Ecosystem Work Programme as well, always under Horizon Europe, offer attractive call for universities and alliances, aims at strengthening the links between resources, so funds, equipment, facilities, organization, so universities, alliances, and inventors and policymakers, so what we call it the knowledge triangle. So the university alliances are very strong players for all these calls, and we encourage them, you, to leverage the added value of being in an alliance to become even more competitive. And this is where we see really the added value for that. In the next program, of course, we need to strengthen the links between university innovation ecosystem and increase universities and higher education institutions' competitiveness. And we want that the next framework program will address the R&I needs of higher education institutions, and of course to do it in synergies with the Erasmus Plus program and the European Competitiveness Fund. And there are discussions ongoing how this can be better orchestrated in order to offer all these opportunities. So just to conclude, it is clear for what I've said that Europe and the member states have indeed world-class universities, research and science, with a lot of potential, with a strong role that can be placed, maybe not world-class conditions for them to compete globally, and this is where we need to work. But the way to fully exploit and trying to move forward in that, if I may, I have two suggestions. So as I was telling during the speech, first, be an active participant to this policy designing opportunity, because this is an extremely powerful game. And being an alliance, you have a way to pass the messages quite strongly. And we are there to listen to that, and the type of policy agendas that we have developed is also a recognition of that. And I tell you that, for instance, the alliances have been also our direct interlocutor for possibilities to include, for instance, in the ERA Act, but let's see if this will be possible, but for instance, joint PhDs. So you are a way, alliances can pass the messages to us and provide some advices, and at the same time they could also be a testing area for these innovative ideas that we hope to be able to put in legislation. And the second recommendation is to use all the possibilities that are there open. It seems that it's not always the case, so we are calling for support direct to alliances, but there is a lot there already, and sometimes we have the impression it's not fully exploited. So this is the second recommendation. Please use all the opportunities that are there already. And if we do that, and with all the support from the Commission, and when I talk about Commission, is DG Research together, of course, with DG EAC, and we keep working together, DG Grow as well. So we have this dialogue continuously to see what are the possible opportunities in the future. But if we do that, and from your side as well, there is this exploiting all the opportunities, I think we can really make Europe competitive. So that is the topic we are discussing today. And let me tell you as well, make Europe a global destination for talent, which is our Choose Europe mantra of this period. So thank you for your attention. I'm really looking forward to hearing from you.
You can keep the microphone. You can have a seat, yeah. Yeah, in the second one there. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much for that thought-provoking intervention. It leaves us with a challenge for us as an alliance to also give an awful lot of feedback to the Commission that you need in order to develop these programs. So we're looking forward to exploring that a little bit in our panel discussion. And I would also ask our other remaining panelists if they could please come to take their seats so that I can introduce you. Would you like to come and please take seats? Thank you very much. We also have our Mentimeter running. And the second question is, what should Europe prioritize to strengthen competitiveness? I hope we'll be able to integrate some of these answers into the discussion then later. For now, I'm going to introduce our panel. Joining Magda De Carli and me on the stage, we're delighted to have Mireia Munte. Mireia Munte is the director of the international area of ABD, Asociación Bienestar y Desarrollo, excuse the pronunciation. It's a non-profit association working in the social economy to address inequality, vulnerability, and social inclusion through community-based programs. ABD is a long-standing partner of ECIU, acting as a challenge provider and co-creating micro-credentials with ECIU, and also active in our lifelong learning efforts to create a European approach to lifelong learning. So thank you, Mireia, for coming here. We also have the pleasure of the presence of Stefan Zotti, who is the Deputy Head of Unit for Higher Education at the European Commission, where he helps to shape EU policies on universities, mobility, and the European education area. His extensive experience in European education and research cooperation, including previous leadership roles in Austria and with the Commission on cultural heritage policy. So I'm going to sit with our guests and ask you some difficult questions, and I hope that you can answer them. And I'll also be very pleased to take some questions as well from our audience and our online listeners as well when we're finished a first round of talks. Yeah. So, Mira, I might start with you. So, reflecting a little bit on what has been said and what your good knowledge of ECIU University, what do businesses, what do organizations like yours need from university alliances like us in order for you to reach your own objectives?
Yes, I wanted to start framing a little bit my organization because I think this can be relevant for the conversation. ABD, we have 40 years of experience working in Spain. We reduce inequalities at social and health level. And we started at the community level, as Niall has said, with a group of professionals and volunteers. And we work on a variety of topics, and we like to say that we work with people that are in situation at risk at any moment in their life. And to frame a little bit, we are present, we were born in Barcelona, but we work at different levels. We serve more or less 110,000 people each year through all of our services, and we are a team of 2,000 professionals, okay? And to highlight like 3 aspects that are relevant for the conversation and also of being a societal stakeholder in ECIU, we always work at the community level. So we have the privilege to see the society needs firsthand. And the second thing is that we always work on cooperation. When we tackle a need, we always map and include actors from the private, from the public sector, from academia that are relevant. That's why we are part of more than 100 platforms, and ECIU is one of it. And the third one is that in our intervention model, the virtuous circle of observation, knowledge building, and bringing it back to the practice is always present. And this is how we work better, and this is also how we generate social innovation. And what we need from ECIU is what we are already doing, which is, I can give 2 examples for those that don't know how societal stakeholders work in ECIU. The first, for example, we have run societal challenges, which in our case, the first one was in 2021. This happened in La Botiga. It's a service that we run in a city council that it's close to Barcelona, which used to be at that moment a assistential-based food distribution system targeting vulnerable population, and they wanted to bridge that towards a more powerful model that also bring in the local producers, generate cluster with enterprises in order to create channels of labor inclusion, a lot of challenges. And of course we had a strategy, but we presented this as a challenge to ECIU, and we got to collaborate with Universitat de Barcelona. We got different students from different countries, and they came in, they presented us, well, they did the research, and they presented us an impact report that was very useful, and that some of these, their recommendations we applied and have changed partly of how we work. And the second thing that we need and we are doing is co-designing micro-credentials together. We have recently finished 2 micro-credentials where we bring our experience in the field on many different topics, and we mix this with the academia knowledge, and we upskill our own professionals and those professionals from the third social sector. But if I would add something, like, I think our collaboration goes beyond this, and it's relevant that a social organization is part of these innovation ecosystems, because as I said, we are in the reality, we observe needs, we test things, we measure them, but the real potential, I think, unlocks when we collaborate and we cooperate with different actors from academia, from private sector, public sector, that are seeking as social value. And I think this is the model, this cooperation, and I think competitiveness fund, like different agendas have to listen to this and incorporate this model, because it offers a real change, more or less.
Thank you very much, Mireia. In our workshop before, somebody mentioned that We need to work more on the logic of starting from analysing the impact we want to have and working backwards, you know. And it seems to me that your model starts with looking at what's needed in your society and then working back, how can we solve this problem? Yeah, so it fits very well with the philosophy as well that ECIU would love to improve and embed more. Thank you. I'm going to turn now to Stefan, if I may. And we're thinking, when we talk to you, of course, as a specialist in higher education, I wonder, are alliances like ECIU University just helping the European education area, that is like through the harmonization of degree structures and mobility and cooperation, the themes of the Bologna process, let's put it like that. Is that what we're doing? Or are we actually showing a way that Europe can connect education, skills, research and innovation towards a more competitive society?
Well, I should very much hope so, actually, that the impact of the university alliances is not only to contribute to the European education area, where the alliances play a huge role. Luckily enough, I'm not alone with my hope. There is solid evidence that the alliances can deliver on research, that the alliances can deliver on innovation. I mean, Mireia just gave two wonderful examples how, together with external partners, the alliances are able to contribute to strategic skills development, and how the alliances can also help their partners to get better, to develop their products through concrete research activities. So great examples which we see basically in all the alliances. And we normally would mention the 65 alliances, 570 universities. I think it's also important to remind people that these 65 alliances now created an ecosystem of more than 2,200 partners, industry, SMEs, public entities, NGOs, etc., which obviously such an ecosystem has a power. Yeah, and Jan Igor in his introduction mentioned perfectly well that obviously research, innovation, service to society is very much in the DNA of every university per se. So the question now is, what would the alliances add on top of? Yeah, that universities are active in research is trivial. And I think there are a couple of elements where we can really see the added value of universities with regard to the competitiveness agenda, with regard to the completion of the European research area, contributing to other policy goals. If we think about skills development, wonderful example. Yeah, but what is the added value of an alliance is that it brings, on a very stable and long-term basis, together many universities, which allows also students living in areas where they might not immediately have the direct link to top-notch universities, but benefiting from the alliance. They can benefit also from top-notch educational offers, which strengthens also the regional competitiveness capacities. So alliances help very much to scale up strategic skills development activities and bring it and share it all across Europe. Alliances, just as a second example, alliances, I think, have already implemented the fifth freedom, which we're talking about still in the political discussion. The internal mobility, the close cooperation, which in many cases already goes far beyond the classical institutional borders. Yeah, so there is something newly created, and I think that here, as Magda said, alliances have also much to contribute to the political discussion, and realizing the fifth freedom, if I understand Magda correctly, will also be a key element in the upcoming ERA Act. Yeah, here, and with regard to the ecosystems I was talking about, alliances might need additional support. And this is, as Magda said, something we're working at the moment very intensively. between the services, but also with all the alliances. And I'm looking forward, in 3 weeks' time, we have the next meeting of the coordinators here in Brussels, where we will allow broad brainstorming on how the future of the alliances in the various sectors, from teaching to innovation to research to capacity building and many other things, will look like. I think this co-creation process is important to really understand where are potentially still funding gaps, where are maybe fields where, under which instrument ever, it's a secondary discussion, yeah, where the alliances might need additional support to actually live up to their potential to deliver on the completion of ERA, to deliver on the European competitiveness agenda, to deliver obviously on the completion of a European education area. So huge potential, and therefore very timely discussion now to see where are the fields where we might need additional support to really live up to the potential and to live up to where we want to see the alliances in the future.
Yeah, we're very conscious in alliances that, of course, universities are not colleges of education. Universities are, of course, centres of research excellence as well. And also that what we have learned from our partners in business, in industry, and in society in general, is that the way to make a space competitive, or an ecosystem, if you want to use that word, competitive, is to ensure that knowledge is mobile, that knowledge goes out of universities into society. So universities, like our alliance, we can test, we can generate knowledge, test ideas, and the scale-up comes then at the level of of businesses, and that's why we are so interested in working with society as well, for the good of our own students. So I'd like to turn now to Magda and ask, what can alliances like ECIU realistically expect from the forthcoming programs that will support alliances, and not just in terms of funding, but in terms of supporting models that we have? What can we realistically expect, please? Thank you.
So, no, thanks a lot, and thanks also for the other contribution. Of course, I've been sketching a bit this during my speech before, and a lot of what you can expect, it depends also what it's also what you can eventually also prove can be done, and how much you can exploit all the possibilities and all the elements that are offered. As I said, we are in fact in discussion because of course we know alliances primarily are education-driven policy initiative, but we see in fact the potential, as I was saying before, in terms of your contribution to the policy definitions, etc., and working in the innovation ecosystem. So it is a matter of, and you were mentioning impact, and to see also what is the response of society, and this is what we are in process to see, what is really the added value, as Stefan was saying, of the alliances, where eventually there is a need of support from which of the programs, eventually depending as well what is the key role that we see playing. And as you were mentioning, definitely added value in strategic skills and reskilling, talent attractiveness. These are all features that are indeed very important. In terms of support, of course, it is there in Horizon, but there we are also analyzing the data that we have, and there were calls, for instance, that were designed with having alliances in mind. And if we look at one of the latest calls and the excellence initiatives, and we see the response, we see the alliances are present, but not as eventually one could expect. So in the consortium, the alliance creates help the consortium, but is not the only vehicle for that. So this is also something that we have to see. If we have to support, needs to be a support that is needed, that is well received, that is really exploited, because otherwise it means that probably this is not what is needed. So we are analyzing all this together, as I said, with colleagues from Maniac, with colleagues from DG Grow, with the idea of seeing where a support is possibly more useful. I think this has been also quite clear from Commission institutionalized, let's say, support to the entity as such is not something that is foreseen, also because exactly we see the value of the alliance is also in helping the universities themselves to then being able to apply it also to other funding schemes. And we will have to see, and this was not even foreseen, no particular entity is mentioned in the regulation itself. But it is open in terms of discussion to see, but it will also come from the evidence of where we see the added value coming. And this is where exactly you can bring alliances themselves or the society as you at large and citizen to see where they see the added value and where they see the positive impact from the alliances. And starting from there, we can of course see where is the best way to support and incentivize this positive role. But as I say, the best is really to come up and to provide also evidence at this stage of where you see this added value with the concrete data as well.
Right. Well, with that, I think it would be very nice if we were to have a question perhaps from our audience. Yeah. Maybe we take a question from our audience that's in the room, and if possible as well, if there were any questions have come through the online session, I'd like to hear as well what our online guests are also saying. But would anybody like to have a question? Please, could you also just state your name and where you come from so that everybody in the room knows where you're coming from, please? Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Thorsten Kern, Hamburg University of Technology, Vice President for Education. A very practical level, so we all agree how good it is to be in an alliance and how fantastic projects we can actually run in this framework, how we benefit from it as educators, as students, and everything is out of question. Yeah, and I think we are doing good for the European Union in general. But when it comes to accounting education, and I'm emphasizing this little bit of accounting, then we have our federal rules, we have the states, we have even the regions, and each of them want to be sure that the money they spend in education is applied mainly to people who are going to work in this environment somehow, local environment. So I am hoping for some strong support from the European Union that they actually just define, like, there's 1% of each ECTS done at a university which should, without any accounting, be applied on a European level and shared and so on. Yeah. So we need not only the bottom-up approach of the, let's say, the alliances to make something happen, but we also sometimes need the top-down support that this little bit of, minimalistic and detailed accounting is overcome, which is happening inside the union.
Thank you. Would any of our panelists volunteer to take that question? Stefan Zloty, please. Thank you.
I very much agree with you, and frankly, we see across Europe a very different level of support also from the member states to the alliances. I think our first learning on this is we need also now to use the current legislative discussion to align our vision and our understanding of the role of alliances with the member states. This is a criticism which sometimes comes from the member states that the alliances has been originally an initiative very strongly driven from the European Commission, directly with the universities, directly with the alliances, bit circumventing political discussions with the member states. Some people might think that this was part of the success story, but it's not to be quoted, please. No, but I fully agree. So I think we need to align our understanding with the member states. What is the role of alliances in the future of the European education, higher education area? Do we really all together, all the 27 member states, see the alliances as a strong initiative to drive systemic change? Or is this just another better paid Key Action 2 cooperation project where some professors who love to travel are busy? Yeah? And frankly, I'm not sure, or I'm very sure, that we do not have this common understanding among the member states, which obviously then has strong repercussions with regard to funding. And I also very strongly plea for an understanding of these investment pathways to always include the national and the regional funding. Yeah? When the European Commission in the Union of Skills, etc., is talking about investment pathways for alliances, this was never meant to be just a polite phrasing of how much money do we get from research, but really a full-fledged, comprehensive way to support the alliances in their way. And it would be very easy for us to be stronger top-down, to tell the member states, had we the competence. Yeah? But the treaty, unfortunately, and here Magda and our research colleagues are in a far stronger position, competence-wise. Education is a very strong, it's only a supportive competence. Whenever it comes to the organization of studies, to the organization of education systems, to the financing curricula, this is member states level, unfortunately. So what we can do from the European Commission, from the European Union level, is to support developments politically, financially, see to find the common ground with the member states. Unfortunately, this shortcut is not at our hand.
Well, I'm just thinking, as you're speaking, about how much we've invested already in our own alliance, ECIU, in terms of the time we've spent working on it, the history we have since 1998 as an alliance, and the financial investment that each of our partners make every year into our information system, into our whole alliance. And we're wondering constantly, I mean, how are we going to sustain funding this alliance? And the only way we can really fund our alliance is if we look for alternative sources of funding beyond the public funding. So we're willing and ready to take huge risks. And this is why we're so concerned about the timeline, about when we can expect some feedback about what we can expect, what we can realistically expect, so that we can plan and give you back these evidences that you need from us. And the evidences cannot come just through Erasmus, because Erasmus is focused on education. The evidences must come also through the challenge-based innovation that we provide. So for us, it's a question of planning. We want to give you the evidence. We need to plan for the future. So how can we work together to make this planning possible?
Yeah, I mean, if you look into the Commission's evaluation from last year, you see this goes far beyond the sole educational aspect. Yeah. So we, I think, share the view, and I hope that this got clear also today, that the alliances play potentially, actually, a role also with regard to the research area. When do you have the security, how much funding for how long, under which conditions? Well, we are actually in the first phase of the negotiation process with the member states, and the new program starts on the 1st of January 2028. So we very much hope, speaking for Erasmus, Magda, you might share about where you stand with the legislators on Horizon. We very much hope that by the end of this year, we should have quite a clarity on how the Erasmus part looks like. The Council presidency is supposed to come up with the, now it gets a bit technical, the general partial agreement, so the Council position in May or June. The European Parliament on the committee level is expected to have the committee vote in July and the vote in the plenary on their position on Erasmus in September, and then we start the trilogues. Yeah, okay. And frankly, It's not that I'm hiding here big secrets. I actually, on the 25th of March, cannot tell you about the outcome of the trilogue end of November. That's, unfortunately. It would ease our lives. Were I able to. What I can tell you is that we have quite an understanding how we see the future funding in the Erasmus program, which will definitely be also for the future the main anchor. And we will be able to share here our first views in 3 weeks' time at the coordinators meeting. I think that's also a question of fairness to allow everybody to actively come in. So I can assure you, this is not a process where we sit in our offices, draw something and let you know on the 31st of December 2027. You are actively involved, but obviously this needs some time, as it also needed time in our discussions with our friends in RTD, in GROW, to understand where they stand. I mean, I think some parts of the next multi-annual financial framework as a competitiveness fund, here we have, it took some time to have real clarity how the programming, how the management and all of this looks like. So this is a bit the process. Would it be far easier if the Commission could decide on all of this alone and have the full-fledged picture as soon as we table the MFF? Most likely, yes. Unfortunately, or no.
It's not how it works.
It's very good to have the member states on board, to have the Parliament on board, to have this as a real broad participatory process. And what I can assure you is that we will be able to share definitely far more of our ideas still before the summer in the two events we have, and many other informal rounds to be organized.
Thank you very much for your forthrightness about these issues, and they're very sensitive and tricky issues, so thank you very much. I wonder, do we have any more questions from our audience? We have another question, yes, and then after this I'd like to take a question from our online audience if we have any questions. None so far? Okay.
Yes, hi, I'm Iris from the ECIU University Alliance. Yeah, I switched, exactly. So I was wondering on the ECF, because there have been a lot of talks now how the ECF could be utilized for the alliances, but nobody seems to yet have a very concrete idea. If we think maybe about the idea of top-ups, do you see, especially to the two people from the Commission, of course, but also to the industry person, or not industry, societal partners, do you see any way where top-ups could be particularly interesting to incentivize certain forms of collaboration, or do you see an added value how specifically top-ups could help us to move forward with alliances?
So I think, as always, forms follow substance. So, of course, there are different tools foreseen in the ECF. It's a quite complex picture there. Top-ups are one of the possibilities. But I think the main thing is not what kind of support, but for what. So this is going back to what we were discussing. So this is the analysis to be done before. And then, of course, what kind of tools to support will come afterwards. But indeed, what we are looking at is exactly where is the really added value, where there is really need of support, and then following that, which kind of support, which kind of fund, and then which kind of tool for that. Of course, this could be an option, but I mean, it all depends on for what and in which circumstances. Still very early, because what Stefan was saying, we are really quite early in the discussion.
I can just tell you what our discussions also within the Commission, yeah, and as Magda said, it's too early now to concretely discuss how this will be organized and top-ups or whatever. I think that the important message, and that's a common agreement, is that if we want to make the competitiveness fund a success, we also need to look into skills development. Because in all of the 4 strategic windows, I think what they all share is skills shortage as one of their key challenges. Now, how this will be organized, and there were and are different ideas and approaches with separate skills goals or integrated ones or whatever, this is still under discussion. What we are trying to promote is the understanding, evidence-based, which actually we can give, evidence-based that particularly alliances have much to offer on this due to their diversity, due to their ability to cover several regions at once, due to their also flexibility. Alliances have demonstrated over the last couple of years that they can very, very quickly develop programs, upskilling activities, etc., which obviously is of high interest also to the industry, which suffers quite much, not only from skills shortage, but also from the, say, built-in stability of traditional education systems, where every sort of curriculum change in school or vet takes ages. Here, I think alliances are demonstrating, and will need to further demonstrate that they are really able to deliver, as Maria gave this great example, yeah, to deliver micro-credential courses developed together with the industry, developed together with SMEs according to very particular needs. And I think this is a success story we can build on. How this then ends up on the account of each and everything is a secondary question. We'll get there. Yeah, if you're responsible for the finances, I understand this point, but we'll get there.
Okay, well, leaving finance aside for a moment, leaving money aside for a moment.
Trying my best.
No, I'm saying leaving funding aside just for a moment. Mireia, what needs to fundamentally change in order for models like ECIU to flourish and succeed? What's fundamental?
It's a very difficult question. No, I was thinking, and I will build on an answer on this and connect it, but for example, we are closing a project that answers precisely what you said, and that at the same time is related to the question, which is we run different social programs addressed to labor inclusion, okay? And we had a lot of third country nationals that had a lot of, had credentials on their country that couldn't apply it to Spain, but had a lot of skills, but they need to reskill, no? And at the same time, we had connections with enterprises working on green transition, renewable energy. So together with Academy, we created a specific course, very applied for those people to be inserted in the labor market through this training and through internships, and then entering the labor market. And I think, and we could do that because we had time, because we had resources. This was an AMIF project, and I think this would be the wonderful, not to be able to what we are doing in ECIU as societal stakeholder, to have the time, to have the resources, to be more social stakeholders, because sometimes when we are talking on social values, on improving things in society, there's not a social partner, no, or civil society organizations in the conversation, and it's important to bring the ground, and also to be present not only at the end of a process, but in the beginning, in the diagnosis, in the mapping, to be able to co-design together and to think the answer together. That's, for our experience, when all the actors really contribute and can, improve the situation.
Thank you. Would anybody like to react to what Mireia has said? Okay. Well, if we don't have any questions from the online participants, no? Can we launch the last question on the Mentimeter, which is takeaways from this afternoon's conversations? Because we're coming to the end already. Yeah? Funding, funding, funding. Of course. But what I'm taking away from this conversation is that universities, businesses, we need to work together in order to make models like ECIU to flourish. We need to provide evidence that this is flourishing and has an impact. And we need to start from deciding where the impact we have to make lies. Yeah? And for us at universities, at ECIU University, we want to make an impact on the lives of our students. We want to make an impact on the lives of our former students, giving them an experience that they will never forget, but also making sure that they bring their knowledge and skills into the world. And when this circulates, we can create these ecosystems, these valleys of talent, these valleys of innovation. And innovation valleys are actually on the agenda now as well. So you never know. The new Silicon Valley might be here, right here, in the heart of Europe, very soon. Okay. Well, would the head of our Brussels office in ECIU like to make any final question or comment? Because you've been very silent back there, Olga Vessels, and I know you're itching to ask a question.
Thank you so much. I was happy to see many different perspectives coming together on the stage right now. I think this was very valuable to bring together today. I know there is a lot of question about this famous European Competitiveness Fund, and I know some people in the audience online will be a little bit lost. So if we could maybe, is this too much to ask now? Because this is a huge fund. But maybe in one sentence, what would be your vision on the Competitiveness Fund, both from a research side and an education side? I think that would be very nice end to this discussion today. Thank you.
So let's really drive this one home and ask the European Commission to answer that question. Is that okay? Would you like to please? Thank you, Olga.
So in terms of so the role of the ECF, for me, it's, and I will start with what you were mentioning at the beginning, the impact. I think this is what will ensure highest impact of all the efforts we do for research to bring it then to the society. You mentioned cities and the society and the impact of the society. I think this is an extra step that completes the full cycle and bring it the benefit of everything we do in research, but also in education in a way, through the talents and skills, etc., to the benefit of the society.
Not much to add on this, yeah. And this based on a solid skills base where alliances, universities, schools, that can actively contribute and also demonstrate that the European education system can actually contribute, because this, in our view, is definitely the basis of the whole competitiveness agenda. If we are not able to have solid education systems to deliver the necessary competences and skills, then all our high-flying plans and funding schemes and instruments and whatnot will inevitably fail, because the basis of all of this is the well-trained young woman, man, Europeans of all ages to contribute and make Europe the success. Thanks.
Well, thank you very much. As a wrap-up, I think we have some nice key takeaways from the conference on the screen. You can read them. I like the very simple one, let's do it. It makes it easy, and it's a nice way to also end the conference on a positive note. I would like to very much thank all of our panelists for coming here today. It's not easy to take time away from your very busy agendas and from your work, so thank you very, very much for being here and for putting up with our very difficult and sensitive questions. So we really, really do appreciate it. Thank you very, very much as well to all our participants in the room today and online. An overwhelming number of people have been here, and we're absolutely thrilled that they've come from all walks of work across the European education, research and innovation. So we have other alliances besides ECIU in the room. We have many, many people from governments and other societal stakeholders. We really do appreciate everybody's participation this afternoon. The conversation will continue. The debate will continue into the future, but for now it will continue in the room just down the hall, where we will have a small reception for everybody to join us for some discussion and networking as well. And I also, is this the correct place for me to go now? I also have, thank you Olga. We'd just like to thank our wonderful panelists. Thank you very, very much. A small gift. Have a wonderful afternoon, everybody. Thank you very, very much.